right, everybody, welcome back to the Grips Archery channel. Today, we're going to talk about spine indexing your arrows. Let's get started. All right, so spine indexing is for any of you who are unfamiliar with the concept. So when we talk about arrow spine, that is generally what we're referring to the arrow stiffness. You know, is it a weak spine? Is it a stiff spine? You know, a 250 spine is going to be real stiff arrow. A 400 spine is going to be a weaker arrow. And in that arrow build video that I did a while back, I have put the card up there somewhere. I talked about spine indexing, and I went into how I go about finding the spine index. And what that means is every arrow has a natural bending tendency due to manufacturing practices or whatever the reason. When the bow shoots and it pushes that arrow from behind, and you know the weight's up front, Newtonian physics, object at rest wants to stay at rest until acted upon by another force. So that force is being applied to the back of the arrow. That point now is in the front, and when that arrow is pushed from behind, before it can get that point moving, the arrow is going to bend, and the spine index is where that arrow will have a tendency to bend. And given the opportunity, it's going to want to bend in that direction. So knowing this, you can fletch your arrows and turn your nock so that all of your arrows, when you shoot them and they go to bend under the pressure of being shot, will all bend in the same direction. I don't want to say that this can eliminate nock tuning. I know there are a lot of people out there that are advocating nock tuning, and rightfully so, especially when trying to really fine tune your setup and get fixed bladed broadheads to fly and be pinpoint accurate, you know, field point accuracy. That nock tuning can be a big help. I don't claim to make the assumption that this is going to replace nock tuning, but I believe it can streamline the nock tuning process and make life a little easier. You know, if you take a dozen arrows and you bare shaft and nock tune all of them, you got to put in some time, and it can take a while. I think that finding that spine index can streamline that process. I don't want to say it can totally eliminate it, but it can make life a little easier when you're going to do that. All right, so in a sport that seems to be going crazy with price tags, the good news is finding your spine index, you don't need a lot of expensive equipment. I did not come up with this on my own. I wish I could remember the guy's name. I would love to give him credit for it. But I saw this on another video. If you're out there and you claim this is your idea, then great, message me and I'll give you credit for it. But all you're going to need is a set of pipe clamps, a pipe, and a couple inserts with field points and a Sharpie. That's all you're going to need. So let's switch positions here and jump on over to where I keep my spine index tool. All right, guys, this is all you need. As you can see, I have a pipe clamp and set on the pipe. And this is what I'm going to use to spine index my arrows. All right. And hopefully you'll be able to see it. But all I have done is I have marked as close as I can. I have marked the center of the face of this pipe clamp, and I just marked the center and drilled a very small little dimple into the face of this side. And on the top portion, I did the same thing, drilled a little hole so that, and you can see, I just take this little point and it will fit right into that hole. I'll do a little close up of that. And the point will then fit into that hole, and that will hold it in between these clamps. Okay. So this is really all you need: your pipe clamp, your pipe, and a Sharpie if you're going to write on arrows that you have already fletched or arrows that you have a wrap on. You go with a black Sharpie. If you're writing on the bare carbon, on the bare shaft, the silver Sharpie will work. But this is all that you do. So I have 2 arrows here, and we will check the spine on both of these. And I'll start with this guy. This is a 359 spine. So I put the insert and the point in the back end, and I simply insert this point into that face. And I hope we can see this. I might have to do a zoomed in, but I get that point right in that little hole right there. And then I do the same down here at the bottom. So when I put tension on it, it won't kick it out. And hopefully what we will demonstrate is when I compress this arrow, which is going to simulate what your bowstring will do. You know, that arrow is sitting stationary on your rest and your string. When the bow pushes the point, the front end of that arrow, you know, an arrow at or an object in rest wants to stay at rest. As it starts to push, if you've ever watched any slow motion, before the energy from the bowstring is delivered from the arrow to the up to the point, that arrow is going to bend. And what we're going to demonstrate here is when given the opportunity, these arrows will bend because of manufacturing or whatever. They're going to bend in the same direction every time. And so this will allow you to find the spine index of your arrows, or if you have, there are some manufacturers that will put the spine index. This will at least allow you to verify that the manufacturer's spine index is the true spine index. So from here, I have no idea which way this arrow is going to bend. So I'll just compress it. And it looks like it's bending towards me. I don't know if you can see that. You see it's got a slight bend in it. And so it is compressing, it is bending towards me. Here's the bend. And so what I will do is take my Sharpie, and since the bend is right here, I will just come up top and put a Sharpie mark right there. And that tells me this arrow is going to bend. So the direction that arrow is going to bend. So if I loosen this and let that arrow go straight again, and I turn it this way, now that arrow should bend that way. And it does. Okay. And you can see now it bends in that direction. And so I will get this, if I want it to bend right towards the camera, I put the index right there towards the camera and twist it, and it bends right towards the camera. So when this arrow is shot, it is going to want to bend in this direction. And that gives me the spine index. So let's do another one. I have another, I've had these guys for years. These arrows I've had for a long time. So put him in the clamp. All right. I have no mark on this one. I have no idea where this index is going to be, but I compress it and it looks like it bends right towards the camera. So let's put a mark on the wrap. So it's bending this way. We're going to put a little mark right there. And to demonstrate that it will, again, bend in that same direction, I will turn it so that the mark is camera right, and it should bend that way. And when I compress it, it bends that way. Okay, so that is spine indexing. So I have rigged mine up to stand vertically. One of the things that in watching the videos, the archer, the anonymous archer, where I got the idea for the pipe clamp, he originally had his set horizontally, and someone said, well, gravity, can pull down on the arrow. Even though he could compress it and get the arrow to bend upward, he went ahead and set it vertically so that he wouldn't have gravity to contend with. And I thought, well, I'll just do the same thing. So I rigged mine on I think it's an old small Christmas tree, artificial Christmas tree stand, and I rigged it up to go inside the pipe. It's just a cross legs and a vertical pole. Put the pipe on that and set the pipe clamps on it, and that is all that I've done to build this tool. All right, so hopefully you could see in the video that as soon as I applied pressure, that arrow, both of those arrows, bent in the same direction every time. I recommend doing this beforehand, before you fletch your arrows. You can, after you cut them off, if you're building your own, you can do this after. If you buy pre-fletched arrows, you can find the spine afterwards. And if you buy arrows that come from the factory, the manufacturer puts the spine index on the shafts. You can at least use this tool to verify that the manufacturer did indeed identify that spine index. But hopefully, if you like to tweak and fine tune and you don't want to spend a whole lot of time and effort working with knock tuning, my recommendation is to get a pipe clamp. Find your spine index. I recommend you find it prior to fletching the arrows. That way, when you go to fletch, if you want your fletchings to all be in the same configuration in relationship to your arrow rest and everything, if you've got a drop away rest, it's probably not that big of a deal. If your vanes are a little different, it can make a difference on your face where you anchor and how you anchor. If your vanes are glued closer to the nock, those vanes and fletchings you can get some pressure on your chin. So that would be the one thing to consider. So again, I recommend that if you're fletching your own arrows, before you ever put any vane, before you ever start to fletch, cut your arrows off. You can glue in your insert if that's what you're doing, or a glue in point, if it's going to be a target arrow and you want to do this with. And then you just put an insert, an appropriate sized insert, and a field point on the nock end, and it will fit perfectly in that pipe clamp. And then after you find your spine index, you can begin fletching. All right. So as always, if you have any questions, drop a comment down below, or you can shoot me an email at gripsarchery@gmail.com. You can see it right here, and I will get back to you at my earliest convenience. All right. So hopefully this will help you this fall as you get ready to hit the woods and you want to fine tune your setup and get those broadheads flying with field point accuracy. All right, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe, and I will talk to you later.